Are taking aim at the new food safety law.
They object to the $1.4 billion price tag and added government intrusion. The law, signed by President Obama yesterday, is the first major overhaul of the nation's food safety system since the 1930s and was prompted in part by outbreaks of E. coli and salmonella poisoning in peanuts and other produce in recent years. The law gives the Food and Drug Administration the power to order recalls of tainted food for the first time. It requires new safety regulations for high-risk fruits and veggies, and it increases inspections of farms and food plants.
It will bring our food safety system into the 21st century, improving health, saving lives, and helping Americans feel confident that when they sit down at their dinner table, they won't end up in the hospital.
Now, the law will require larger farms to produce mounds of paperwork detailing their food safety plans. Smaller farms are exempt from the new rules. I discussed Republican opposition to the law with Georgia Congressman Jack Kingston of Savannah, who is hoping to chair an important House Agriculture Subcommittee in the new Congress. Congressman Kingston, will House Republicans try to withhold some of the $1.4 billion to pay for this new food safety law over the next 5 years?
Russ, I think we will. We have a lot of concerns about the necessity of putting 18,000 food police on the streets in the kitchens of America. The trend in food safety has been very, very favorable, and I'm not sure that this kind of investment is going to give us any returns that justify it.
Well, as you know, 1 in 6 Americans are sickened by foodborne illnesses each year, according to the CDC. 180,000 hospitalized, 3,000 die. Does that not argue for more inspections?
Well, you know, those numbers are something that we're all concerned about, but if you look at where they've been, the number of foodborne illnesses has actually dropped in terms of hospitalizations from 325,000 to the 128,000 figure, and those are the CDC figures, so it's been trending in the right direction.
But there have been these recent outbreaks of E. coli and salmonella that you're very aware of. What do you think of the provision that would allow the FDA to order a recall of tainted food? As it is, or as it was, it can only negotiate voluntary recalls.
Well, I'm concerned about the government overplaying their hand for political purposes. You know, Russ, one of the things that we know is, as politicians, is poll numbers. And your poll numbers go up anytime you talk about food safety, because people rightfully are concerned about the food that their children eat or that their senior citizen parents eat. We all want safe food supplies. So what we politicians do is we rattle the cage of fear and say, oh gosh, you better re-elect us or the food you're eating is going to be tainted.
What do you say then to advocates, Congressman, who argue that responding to outbreaks of foodborne illnesses is more expensive by a long shot than the funding for this new law?
Well, a lot of the cost of recall should be, I believe, rightfully picked up by the private sector. And one of the things that we need to track better is who are the bad actors, because we do know that some meat processing plant and food processing industries are the same ones over and over again with the problems.
You mentioned, though, that this new law is politically popular. How much risk is there for House Republicans in fighting the funding for this?
Russ, I think there's going to be risk in everything we do. As soon as the gavel's pounded and we're sworn in, I think that soon we will all be accused of hating clean air, clean water, senior citizens, children, education, everything else. But, you know, that's the politics of hysteria that we're in that atmosphere of, unfortunately. We're a country right now that has a debt that's 96% of the GDP. The deficit is $1.4 trillion. We've got to make some serious decisions, and we've got to say, if you've got a food supply that is 99.999% safe, do you really need to hire 18,000 federal bureaucrats to go tell the private sector what to do?
Now, the Pew Health Group says the health care costs of dealing with an outbreak of foodborne illness is in the tens of